When my parents' restaurant failed, they told me my athletic brother deserved their support and I should live with my aunt who needed help with her farm. I was 15 when my mother called me into their bedroom. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded, looking at the carpet. She said Aunt Maggie was struggling with the farm and needed help. I was good with my hands, patient with animals. Cameron needed to focus on his training. His soccer scholarship applications were due in 2 years, and he couldn't afford distractions. I asked if this was temporary. She said we'd see how it goes. I asked why Cameron couldn't help instead. She looked at me like I'd asked something stupid. Because he has a future, she said. Then caught herself and added, a different kind of future. You understand? I didn't understand, but I nodded anyway. My father came in carrying garbage bags. He started pulling clothes from my dresser, shoving them in without folding. I asked if I could pack my own stuff. He said we needed to leave before dinner rush started at the restaurant. Except there wasn't a dinner rush anymore. There hadn't been one in months. The parking lot stayed empty and the food sat under heat lamps until it dried out. He was just avoiding looking at me. Cameron appeared in the doorway with his soccer ball under one arm. He watched Dad pack my life into 4 garbage bags. I asked if he was going to say anything. He bounced the ball once, twice, then said, "Good luck, I guess." That was it. 15 years of sharing a room, stealing each other's clothes, fighting over the TV remote. Good luck, I guess. Aunt Maggie lived 2 hours north in a town called Millbrook. Population around 200. 1 stoplight, 3 churches, a feed store and a gas station that sold bait. Her farm was 80 acres of struggling corn and a dozen dairy cows that barely produced enough to break even. She met us at the door and told my parents she appreciated this. Appreciated. Like I was a favor they were doing her. Like I was a donation to goodwill. She showed me to the back room. A twin bed, a dresser with a broken drawer, and a window that looked out at the barn. She said she was sorry it wasn't much. I told her it was fine. She said she knew why I was really there. That my parents had called 2 weeks ago, desperate, asking if she needed help. She'd said no at first because she couldn't afford to feed another person. They'd offered to send money for my food, $300 a month. She'd agreed because she needed it. That was my value. $300, cost of doing business. The first month was the worst. I'd wake up at 4:30 a.m. to help with milking, spend the morning cleaning stalls and mending fences. Afternoons were for whatever needed doing. Tractor maintenance, chicken coop repairs, hauling feed. My hands cracked and bled. My back seized up. I called my mom after 2 weeks, asked when I could come home. She said Cameron had a big tournament coming up. The whole family needed to focus on that. Maybe after. I called again a month later. Dad answered. Said the restaurant was still struggling and they were living off credit cards. Maybe Christmas. Christmas came. I got a text from Cameron showing off his new cleats. $700 Nikes, top of the line. I texted back asking about visiting. He left me on red. Aunt Maggie noticed me staring at my phone during dinner. She said my parents had stopped sending the $300 after the first payment. She'd called twice. They said they'd send it soon. Never did. She was keeping me anyway because she figured I needed someone, and she couldn't send a kid back to people who didn't want him. I started at Millbrook High after Christmas break. Junior year, new school, knowing nobody. Wore the same 4 shirts in rotation because we couldn't afford more. Kids noticed, called me farm boy, asked if I smelled like cow shit. One guy, Derek Huang, was different. His parents owned an organic farm 3 miles east. 60 acres of vegetables they sold at farmers markets in the city. He sat with me at lunch the first week, said he recognized the look. Someone who didn't choose farm life but was stuck in it anyway. We became friends. He taught me about crop rotation, soil pH, integrated pest management. His parents ran their farm like a business. Spreadsheets, market analysis, customer relationships. Not like Aunt Maggie, who planted the same corn every year and hoped for rain. I spent weekends at Derek's farm. His dad, William, treated farming like engineering, every decision backed by data. He showed me their books, showed me how they netted $80,000 a year on 60 acres, while conventional farms 3 times that size barely broke even. The difference was direct sales. No middlemen, no commodity prices, just customers who paid premium rates for quality. I asked if I could help. He said he'd pay me $10 an hour. I worked every Saturday and Sunday. By senior year, I was managing Derek's farm's entire irrigation system. I'd taught myself basic coding and built a program that monitored soil moisture levels and automated watering schedules, saved them 30% on their water bill. William paid me a $500 bonus and wrote me a college recommendation letter. I applied to State Agricultural University, got in with a partial scholarship. Aunt Maggie cried when the acceptance letter came. Said she was proud. First time anyone had said that to me in 3 years. I called my parents to tell them. Mom answered, said that's nice, and asked if I needed money for school. I said I'd gotten loans. She said okay and hung up. No congratulations. No questions about my major. Just okay. I went to college and studied agricultural business and crop science. Worked the university farm for housing. Spent summers back at Derek's place, expanding their operation. We added a greenhouse, started a CSA program. I built a customer database and streamlined their delivery routes. By my junior year of college, they were netting $140,000. William offered me a partnership after graduation, 20% stake in the business. I accepted. But I had other ideas. The small farm industry was dying because individual farms couldn't compete with factory agriculture. But what if they didn't have to compete individually? What if they collaborated, shared resources, bulk purchasing, coordinated distribution, collective bargaining power with restaurants and grocery chains? I started talking to other organic farmers in the region. By graduation, I had 12 farms interested. We called it Valley Cooperative. Each farm maintained independence but pooled resources for purchasing seeds, equipment, and supplies. We negotiated contracts as a group, set up a centralized distribution hub. I ran the business side. 1 year in, our member farms saw a 40% increase in profit margins. 3 years in, we had 47 member farms across 2 states. I was 25 years old and drawing a salary of $75,000 a year. Not from farming, from making farming viable for others. I bought a house in Millbrook, small, 3 bedrooms, but it was mine. Aunt Maggie's farm joined the cooperative. Her profit tripled the first year. She paid off her equipment loans and replaced her 20-year-old truck. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 7 years. Not since that phone call junior year of college. I knew Cameron had gotten his soccer scholarship, full ride to state. Knew he'd torn his ACL sophomore year and never played professionally. Knew Mom and Dad had finally closed the restaurant and filed bankruptcy. All secondhand information from Aunt Maggie, who still talked to my mother occasionally. Then the invitation came. My grandmother's 80th birthday. The matriarch of our family. Country club in my hometown. Formal event. I almost didn't go, but Aunt Maggie said I should. Said holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I thought about it for a week, then RSVP'd yes. The day of the party, I wore the same jeans I'd worn to fix a fence that morning. Steel toe boots, a button-down shirt Aunt Maggie had ironed for me. I looked like exactly what I was, a farmer. I walked into that country club ballroom and saw crystal chandeliers and ice sculptures and people in suits that cost more than my truck. My mother saw me first. Her face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise, recognition, horror. She touched my father's arm, and his head snapped toward me. He stood up so fast his chair rocked. Cameron turned around and squinted like he wasn't sure it was me. I looked different, taller, broader through the shoulders from years of physical work, tanned, calloused hands, not the skinny 15-year-old they'd shipped off. I walked over, said hello. My mother's mouth opened and closed. My father found his voice first. Leo, what are you doing here? I showed my invitation. Grandma invited me. She said to my mother, I thought you said he couldn't make it. My mother's face turned pink. I must have misunderstood. An older woman at the table, my Aunt Carol, looked confused. I thought Leo was in California, managing that agriculture program. I looked at my mother. California? Mom's eyes darted to Dad. We thought so. Last we heard. I live in Millbrook, I said. 2 hours north. Have for 10 years. The table went quiet. My cousin Ashley, who was maybe 12 last time I saw her, spoke up. Mom told us you were traveling around helping sustainable farms get started. Some kind of consultant job. I am a consultant, I said. Just not in California. I run a farm cooperative here in state, based out of Millbrook. My father made a weird, choking sound. You do what? Valley Cooperative. We represent 47 organic farms. provide business services, collective purchasing, distribution, logistics, that sort of thing. He stared at me. How long have you been doing this? 6 years. Full-time since I graduated college. What college? State Agricultural, class of 2018. You went to college? He said it like I'd claimed to have walked on the moon. Got a degree in agricultural business and crop science. He looked at my mother. Did you know about this? She shook her head slowly. We lost touch, she said quietly. Cameron finally spoke. Dude, you look so different. I looked at my brother. He'd put on weight, not muscle, just soft around the middle. His face had that bloated look of someone who drank too much. You too. We should catch up, he said with forced enthusiasm. Maybe grab a beer later. Sure. My grandmother appeared then, pushing through relatives to get to me. She hugged me hard. Her eyes were wet. I've been asking your parents about you for years. They said you were busy. Too busy to call your own grandmother? I called you, I said, 3 times after I moved. Left messages. Grandma pulled back and looked at my parents. I never got any messages. My father's face had gone from pale to red. Must have been a mix-up with the answering machine. Derek's father, William, had taught me something important about business. When people lie, they tell elaborate stories. When they're telling the truth, they give simple facts. It's a mix-up was elaborate. It meant he was scrambling. Grandma looked at me. Sweetheart, what have you been doing all these years? I've been working. Started at my Aunt Maggie's farm, then worked my way through college. Now, I run the cooperative. She squeezed my arm. Maggie told me bits and pieces. She's very proud of you. My mother stood abruptly. We should get you something to drink. She tried to steer me away from the table, but I didn't move. I'm fine. She lowered her voice. We need to talk. Privately. Not yet, I said. I'd like to catch up with everyone first. Her grip tightened on my elbow. Now, Leo, please. The desperation in her voice made me follow. She led me to a side room off the ballroom, a library with leather chairs and books nobody read. My father followed us in and closed the door. He leaned against it, started talking before I could. Look, we know we haven't been in touch. Things were complicated after you left. After I left? I repeated. You sent me away. You made a difficult choice for the family. We were losing everything. The restaurant was drowning in debt. My mother jumped in. We couldn't support 3 people. Cameron needed to finish high school, needed to focus on his training. His scholarship was our only hope of not being completely ruined financially, and I was expendable. She flinched at the word. You were adaptable. Maggie needed help, and you were good at that kind of work. Manual labor? I said. Yeah, I was great at that. Made a real future out of it. My father's expression shifted. He'd caught something in my tone. This cooperative you mentioned. How big is it? Why does that matter? Just curious. Trying to understand what our son has been up to. I crossed my arms. 47 member farms. About 3,000 acres total production. We do $8 million in collective revenue annually. The number hit them like cold water. My mother actually took a step back. 8 million? The cooperative's revenue, I clarified. Not my salary. But I do fine. My father's businessman brain kicked in immediately. I saw it happen. The calculation, the shift. What's your role exactly? CEO and founder. I handle business development, contract negotiations, logistics coordination. We've got 6 full-time staff now. His demeanor changed completely. The hostility drained away. He straightened up, smiled. That's incredible. I had no idea you'd done so well for yourself. You never asked. Fair point, he said smoothly. We should have stayed in touch better. But now that we know, maybe we can fix that. Fix what? Our relationship. Your family. We should act like it. I studied his face, saw the wheels turning. Why now? Because you're successful? He had the decency to look offended. Because you're our son, and we made mistakes. We'd like to make amends. My mother nodded quickly. We've missed you. We talk about you all the time. To who? I asked. Because Carol thinks I'm in California. Grandma never got my messages. So who exactly are you talking to about me? They exchanged a look. We kept your location private, Mom said. Didn't want to burden extended family with our problems. By telling them I was somewhere else? We were protecting you, Dad said. From what? From judgment. People wouldn't understand why you left. I didn't leave. You sent me away, and then you lied about it. That's not fair. Mom's voice cracked. We did what we had to do, and I turned out fine. So why are you upset? Because you didn't do it out of love. You did it out of convenience. And now you want back in because, what? You found out I make money? That's not why. My father said it too fast. Then why? What changed between this morning and right now that suddenly you want a relationship? We realized how much we've missed. He tried to put his hand on my shoulder. I stepped back. When did you find out about the cooperative? The question hung there. My mother looked at the floor. Dad tried to recover. Recently. How recently? Does it matter? Yes. He sighed. About 6 months ago. One of your farm supplies produced to a restaurant. The owner mentioned the cooperative. We looked it up. 6 months. And you didn't call. We wanted to reach out in person. At Grandma's party? I said. That you knew I'd be at. This isn't an ambush, Mom said. But it was. I could see it now. The same pattern as before. Calculate the value. Determine usefulness. Make the approach. What do you want? I asked directly. Dad hesitated, then said, We're in trouble. Financial trouble? We need help. How much? The restaurant's closure left us with $380,000 in debt. Credit cards. Loans. We had to sell the building for less than we owed. We're underwater and the creditors are circling. We're about to lose our house, and you want me to pay it off. We're asking if you'd consider helping your parents. I let out a breath. After 10 years. After never calling. After lying to everyone about where I was. After telling me Cameron deserved support, and I didn't. You want me to write you a check for $380,000. We're desperate, Mom whispered. Figure it out, I said. You figured out how to live without me. Surely you can figure out how to live without my money. That's cruel. She said it like I'd slapped her. What you did to me was cruel. This is just honest. My father's face hardened. You're really going to stand there and let your own parents go bankrupt? You're really going to stand there and pretend you're my parents? We raised you for 15 years. My Aunt Maggie raised me for 10. You just gave birth to me and kept me fed until I wasn't convenient anymore. We gave you everything. You gave me to someone else the second it got hard. You didn't fight for me. You didn't choose me. You chose Cameron, and now you want me to choose you. I started toward the door. Dad moved to block it. Please, just listen. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. You gave up that claim. I said it quietly. When you put my clothes in garbage bags and drove me away without a plan for when I'd come back, when you never called, when you lied about me for 10 years, you gave up being my family, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise just because it's financially convenient for you now. He stared at me, then stepped aside. I walked back into the ballroom. Heads turned. People had clearly been talking about me, about the boy who disappeared and then reappeared. I went straight to the bar and ordered water. Cameron appeared at my elbow. That looked intense. Yeah, they told you? He knew. I could see it in his face. When did you find out? About the cooperative? A year ago. Dad mentioned it. A year? And you never reached out? He looked uncomfortable. I didn't know what to say. You could have started with hello. I know, I'm sorry, I really am. This time it sounded genuine. But sorry doesn't fix 10 years. I know. He ordered a beer. We stood in silence. Then he said, For what it's worth, I didn't agree with what they did. But you didn't stop it either. I was 16. What was I supposed to do? Something? Anything. Call me. Visit. Acknowledge I existed. He drank half his beer in one pull. Dad made it seem like you were happy at Maggie's. Like it was your choice. Did you actually believe that? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. My cousin Ashley came over. She was 22 now. College student. Bright eyes. She said she'd heard I ran a farm business and thought that was amazing. She was studying environmental science. Asked if we hired interns. I gave her my card. Told her to email me. She looked at the card like it was made of gold. This is so cool. I've been looking for real-world experience. My mom said you were doing consulting in California, but this is even better. This is local. This is real. Who told your mom I was in California? She shrugged. I don't know. She's mentioned it for years, though. Family gossip, I guess. I looked across the room. My mother was watching me. I pulled out my phone, opened the cooperative's website, showed Ashley. This is our operation. All our member farms are listed here. Client testimonials, press coverage. She scrolled through it. Wow. You guys were in the Agricultural Journal last year. We won Regional Supplier of the Year. That's insane. Her mother, my Aunt Carol, appeared, asked what we were looking at. Ashley showed her. Carol's eyes went wide as she read. Then she looked at me. You built this? With help? But yeah, I started it. She kept scrolling, looked up at my mother across the room, then back at me. She told us you were working as a consultant, traveling around. I've been in Millbrook for 10 years, running this for 6. Carol's expression shifted to something between confusion and anger. Why would she lie about that? You'd have to ask her, but I have a guess. Carol looked at me, standing there in my work boots and jeans in a country club ballroom. She put it together. They didn't want people to know, she said slowly. Know what? That they'd sent you away? That you weren't actually with them anymore. I didn't confirm it, didn't deny it, just let her arrive at the truth herself. She looked furious. She marched across the ballroom. I followed because I wanted to see this. Carol walked right up to my parents' table, said loud enough for nearby people to hear, "Did you really tell everyone Leo was in California?" My mother's face went white. "Carol, not now. No, right now. You've been lying about your own son for years? Saying he was traveling and consulting and thriving when he was 2 hours away and you'd cut him off?" Dad stood up. "This is a private family matter. It's not private when you lie to the entire family about it." An uncle I barely recognized, Dennis, spoke up. "What's going on?" Carol pointed at me. "Leo's been living in Millbrook for 10 years, built a multi-million-dollar agriculture business, and they've been telling everyone he was working abroad." Dennis looked confused. "Why would they lie? Ask them," Carol snapped. The table had gone completely silent. Other nearby tables were listening now. Grandma stood up. Her voice cut through the murmur. "Jennifer? Richard? What is Carol talking about?" My mother tried to speak, but nothing came out. Dad attempted damage control. "There was a miscommunication." "Miscommunication?" Carol repeated. "You told me specifically 3 years ago that Leo was consulting in California and couldn't make it to Christmas. I asked if he'd be home for my daughter's wedding. You said he was committed overseas. Lies? All lies?" I spoke up. "I've never left the state. I went to State Agricultural University, graduated 6 years ago, started my business here. I've been in Millbrook the entire time." Grandma's hand went to her mouth. "You've been 2 hours away this whole time?" The whole ballroom was listening now. Conversations had died, everyone watching. My father tried again. "We lost touch with Leo after he went to live with Maggie. We didn't know where he was." "That's not true," I said. "I called you 3 times my first year there. You never answered. I sent my graduation announcement. You didn't come. I sent my college acceptance letter to your house. You never responded. Every attempt I made you ignored. And then you lied about where I was so no one would ask questions. Someone in the crowd said, 'Why would you send him away in the first place?'" My mother finally found her voice. "We were struggling financially. We made a difficult choice. You sent your son to live on a farm," Uncle Dennis said slowly, "and then told everyone he was traveling internationally? To hide what you'd done," Carol finished. Grandma sat down heavily. Someone got her water. She looked at my parents. "Tell me you didn't do this. Tell me you didn't abandon your son and then lie about it." "We didn't abandon him," Dad said. "We sent him somewhere he'd be taken care of. And then never visited," I added. "Never called. Never checked if I was alive or dead or struggling or thriving. Just erased me and made up a better story for parties." My mother stood up. Her voice shook. "We did what we had to do to survive. Cameron needed our support. He had scholarship opportunities, a future, and I didn't? He had potential." The words fell out before she could stop them. The room went dead quiet. Cameron's face crumpled. Even he looked shocked. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Right. He had potential. I was just the other kid, the expendable one. She realized what she'd said, tried to backtrack. "I didn't mean it like that." "Yes, you did. You meant it exactly like that. Cameron had potential. I had a strong back. He was worth investing in. I was worth sending away. We were going to lose everything. So you kept the son you valued and discarded the one you didn't. We thought you'd be fine. You were always so resilient, adaptable. We knew you'd land on your feet. That's not love. That's abandonment with a positive spin." Tears ran down her face. "You don't understand what we were going through. I understand perfectly. You decided one son was worth keeping and one wasn't. You made your choice, and you lived with it fine until you found out I was successful. Then suddenly you want a relationship again. Because we missed you. Because you need money," I corrected. "You said it yourself 10 minutes ago. You're $380,000 in debt, about to lose your house. That's why you're here trying to fix things. That's why you suddenly care. That's not true. Then why didn't you reach out a year ago when Dad found out about my business? Or 6 months ago? Why wait until tonight?" My father's jaw worked. We were trying to figure out how to approach you. For 6 months? He didn't have an answer. Cameron spoke up from his seat. His voice was quiet. They've been talking about it non-stop for weeks, planning what to say, how to get you alone. They threw this party specifically because they knew you'd come for Grandma. The room erupted. People started talking over each other, asking questions, expressing shock. Grandma cut through it all. You used my 80th birthday as a trap to manipulate your son into giving you money. Dad tried to speak. She held up her hand. I don't want to hear it. She looked at me and stood, walked over, hugged me. I'm so sorry. This isn't your fault. I should have checked on you myself. I should have pushed harder when your parents said you were too busy. I thought you were living your life. I didn't know you were 2 hours away being ignored. It's okay. It's not okay. She pulled back, looked at my parents. I'm ashamed of you both. You don't understand, Mom said desperately. We were drowning. Lots of families face financial hardship, Grandma said. They don't all dispose of their children. We sent him to family, after deciding he wasn't worth keeping, after choosing one son over the other, after erasing him so you wouldn't have to explain your failures. Aunt Maggie appeared then. I hadn't seen her come in. She must have been running late. She took in the scene, the tears, the accusations, the crowd of relatives watching. She walked straight to me, put her hand on my arm. You okay? I nodded. Maggie looked at my parents. Her voice was ice. You stopped sending money after the first month. Did everyone know that? The room went quiet again. You promised $300 a month to help with his food and expenses. You sent one payment. I called 4 times asking where the rest was. You said it was coming. It never did. I kept him anyway because I wasn't going to send a child back to people who didn't want him. My mother's face crumbled. We didn't have it. Then you should have said that instead of making promises you couldn't keep. Instead of dumping your son on me and disappearing. She looked around the room. Leo saved my farm. The cooperative he built tripled my income. He did in 6 years what I couldn't do in 30. He's brilliant and kind and hardworking, and you threw him away like trash. Cameron made a sound. Half sob, half gasp. He stood up, left the room. Some relatives followed to check on him. I didn't move. My father's face had gone red. His voice shook when he spoke. We made mistakes, but we're still his parents. We still love him. No, I said. You love what I can do for you. There's a difference. If I was still struggling on Maggie's farm, making minimum wage, would you have thrown this party? Would you have reached out? If I was broke, would we be having this conversation? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. You don't love me. You love my bank account. Mom stepped forward. Please, we're desperate. We're going to lose everything. We need help. You needed help 10 years ago when you sent me away. You needed help every birthday you didn't call, every Christmas you ignored, every milestone you missed. But you didn't ask for it then. You only ask now that I have something you want. We're your parents. You were my parents. Past tense. You gave that up when you chose one son over the other, when you lied to everyone about where I was, when you decided I wasn't worth the effort. We made mistakes, Dad said. But family is family. We should forgive each other. Forgiveness requires remorse. You're not sorry you sent me away. You're sorry I won't bail you out. Those are very different things. What do you want from us? Mom sobbed. An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're both sorry. For what, specifically? For everything. That's not specific. That's just words. What are you actually sorry for? She looked lost. For sending you away? Are you asking me or telling me? She started crying harder. I don't know what you want me to say. I looked at both of them, saw them clearly for the first time in 10 years. They hadn't changed. They were still the same people who'd packed my clothes in garbage bags, who'd chosen one son over the other, who'd lied rather than face the truth. They were just more desperate now. Say you're sorry for deciding I had less value than Cameron. Say you're sorry for never calling, for lying to the family, for treating me like a problem to solve instead of a person to love. Say you're sorry for only reaching out when you needed money. Say it honestly. Mean it. Neither of them spoke, because they couldn't. They weren't sorry about any of it. They were just sorry it didn't work out in their favor. Grandma spoke from behind me. I think you should leave. My parents' heads snapped toward her. Mom, not you, she said. Them. She pointed at my parents. You used my birthday as a manipulation tactic. I won't tolerate that. This is my party, and you're not welcome. Dad's face went purple. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Get out. But, Mom tried. Now, Grandma said, her voice like steel, before I have you removed. They stood there for a long moment. Then Dad grabbed his jacket, stalked toward the exit. Mom followed. She looked back once, tried to say something. I turned away, didn't watch them leave. The room was silent after the door closed. Then someone started clapping. Uncle Dennis. Others joined in, not celebrating, just acknowledging something. I felt Maggie's hand on my shoulder. Let's get some air, she said. We walked out to the country club patio. She sat down on a bench, patted the spot next to her. I sat, stared at the landscaped gardens, felt hollow. You did good in there, she said. I didn't feel good. That's because you're a good person. Good people don't feel victorious when they cut off their parents, even when those parents deserve it. I looked at her. Do you think I'm wrong for not helping them? No. She said it without hesitation. They made their choice years ago. You're just living with the consequences of their decision. Not your job to rescue people who never rescued you. I nodded, felt the weight of it settle. Cameron came out then. His eyes were red. Can we talk? Maggie stood. I'll be inside. She squeezed my shoulder, left us alone. Cameron sat where she'd been. I'm sorry, he said. I know I've said it before, but I mean it. I was a coward. I should have fought for you. Should have called. Should have done something. Anything. He wiped his eyes. I convinced myself you were fine. That you'd moved on, that maybe you even preferred it there, made it easier to sleep at night. I didn't respond. He continued. I knew about the plan, to use Grandma's party. I told them it was wrong, but I didn't stop them, didn't warn you, just went along with it like always. That's who I am. The guy who goes along with things, the guy who lets other people make the hard choices. He looked at me. You're better than all of us. You built something real, something good. You helped people. I just took their money, their support, their lies that made me look better. Took it all and gave nothing back. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know that I see it. I see what they did, what I let them do, and I'm ashamed. He stood up. If you never want to speak to me again, I understand. But if you ever want to try, if you ever want to build something that wasn't built on their lies and choices, I'm here. I'll answer. I'll show up. I promise. He walked back inside, left me alone with the night air and the distant sound of music from the ballroom. My phone buzzed. Text from Aunt Maggie. Take your time. No rush. I sat there for another 10 minutes. Thought about my parents. About Cameron. About 10 years of silence. About garbage bags and $300 and the phrase, he had potential. Thought about Valley Cooperative and 47 farms and families who depended on what I'd built. Thought about Aunt Maggie and her tripled income and her pride in me. Thought about William teaching me that business was about data and decisions. About Derek showing me that friendship wasn't conditional. About learning that family was something you built, not something you were born into. I stood up, walked back inside. The party had resumed, quieter now, more subdued. People glanced at me but didn't stare. Grandma waved me over, sat me down next to her, held my hand, told me about her week, about her garden, about the book she was reading. Normal things, like I hadn't just burned down my relationship with my parents in front of 50 relatives, like I'd always been there, like I'd never left. And maybe that was the point. Maybe that was what family actually meant. Not the people who claimed you, but the people who kept you, who showed up, who didn't need you to be successful or useful or profitable, who just needed you to be you. I stayed until the end of the party, helped clean up, drove Aunt Maggie home. We didn't talk about what happened. She told me about a new crop she wanted to try, asked my opinion on heirloom tomatoes versus hybrid varieties, business talk, farm talk, the language we'd built together over 10 years of early mornings and honest work. When I got home that night, I had 17 missed calls, all from my parents' numbers. A dozen texts, voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. I blocked both numbers, deleted the messages unread, not out of anger, just out of clarity. They'd made their choice when I was 15. I was making mine now. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.